The Everything Sequel podcast is brought to you by us. Not Us the movie, us, Mike and Tom of the Everything Sequel podcast.
Everything Sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is an end-of-the-year reflection edition. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man trying to outlist me, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello, Tom.
Cross out Butler and put down Ed Butler. Somehow, Palpatine returned. You pair of sausage Nigels.
He had so many choices.
Yep, that is from bottom to top, 5 to 3, in my top 5 list of quotables from the past year. Stay tuned till the end of the episode. I'll give you my top 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a good year for quotables, that's for sure.
Sure.
Most of them from Crank 2.
I imagine every year is a good year for quotables. Yeah.
Most of them from Crank 2 High Voltage. Once we discovered the Jason Statham voice.
You ever see those? I forget what it was. Was it on the How Did This Get Made episodes? Is it Cell? Is he in Cell?
He might be. Well, the sequel to that's in our future, isn't it? Because that's a 2009.
Is it? I was just thinking about.
Is Cell different from The Cell? I don't know.
Right. Is it Captain America that's in Cell?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, the current Captain America?
No, the former.
Okay. What is a Red Hulk?
Anyway.
Let me plead ignorance like Harrison Ford did before he became the Red Hulk. He is a sly old dog, isn't he? Pretending he doesn't know the character he's about to play.
That's good.
He's in a movie. I don't know if Cell or The Cell are the same thing.
Different.
Or is it just called Cell?
The Cell is
okay.
that kind of horror Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn movie.
Well, we're doing the sequel to that at some point, and I'm pretty sure neither
That's
of those
the one.
Are
That's the 2009, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Pretty sure neither of those actors appear.
Yeah, no. But anyway, I just remember on that episode of How Did This Get Made when they start doing like it's supposed to be he's a guy from Los Angeles.
Yes.
Jason Statham, and they're like, what you gotta do is get on the 405.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the Beekeeper, isn't it?
Take La Brea. Well, it's a running gag now, so I'm sure they did it in the Beekeeper, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's appeared in a couple of films we did this year, because he's also in one of the Pink Panthers.
Yes.
Is it the first Pink Panther or the second one?
I will never remember that, Tom.
Well, it's important because we either did that for Patreon or we did that on the regular feed.
True.
I want to say it's the original.
I think it's the original.
Sorry, the reboot of the original.
Yeah.
Where he's in a relationship with Beyonce.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think so. And
I was about to say that
he
he was the fake James Bond, but that was Clive Owen, right?
That was Clive Owen, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he doesn't speak a word in that film.
Clive Owen?
No. This is a really frustrating conversation to start a podcast with.
We've taken 2 weeks off, and we are immediately in a rabbit hole that we will never climb out of.
Yeah, Jason Statham, the man who you cast in a movie to hear him speak, I would say, is completely silent in the
He's got a new non-beekeeper movie coming out that I saw a preview for the other day, and I got very excited.
Is it the sheep wrangler?
Yeah. It is the same
What
exact
ki-
story. He's just not a beekeeper. He's a sheep guy.
What what livestock is he tending
Or
to?
am I
in this
thinking something
particular one?
else? Was it sheep in that movie? I saw some other preview for some other sheep thing.
Oh, I was joking.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a smaller kind of, I don't know, action drama coming out with whoever is currently the Wolfman and
Not Benicio del Toro. Go on.
yeah, not Benicio del Toro, and then that weird little Irish boy that's getting all the movies now. Good actor.
Barry Hogan.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Is that right?
That sounds like a valid attempt.
Is he's the new Joker, right? As well.
Oh, is that right?
Well, that guy is. I don't know if we're talking about.
We're
the
already
same
going
person.
back to Joker?
Well, at the end of The Batman, the Joker in the cell is, I believe, Barry Kogan.
Oh, okay.
But it might be a different. Are you talking about the guy from Gladiator 2?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'm talking about the guy from the Banshees
Saltburn?
of Inisherin and
Oh, I think we're talking about the same
Saltburn.
guy. Yes, we're talking about the same guy. I think he's the new Joker.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I think I'm confusing that sheep movie with. He might be working on a farm. That's why I got it confused. Anyway, he's like helping another small town kind of family that took him in, and he's like, "You've really helped me out." And then, Taken style, their daughter is kidnapped, and he's got to
Of course.
get her back.
Well, good luck doing a better sheep-based movie than Shaun the Sheep the movie,
Okay.
which is an animated classic that is... I'm not even joking.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
I mean, it's right up there. People have been saying lots of nice things about Vengeance Most Foul, quite rightly, the latest Wallace and Gromit feature, but Shaun the Sheep the movie is as good.
All right. Calm down. All right.
I did actually wonder, and I'm doorstepping you with this, but why not? We got nothing else to talk about,
Right.
But because we haven't watched any films
No.
in preparation for this episode. But would we ever do the Wallace and Gromit series,
Oh, I don't know.
like the from the Wrong Trousers to Vengeance Most Foul?
Sure, why not?
I mean, you could do the shorts in one or two episodes, and then the other two are features. Curse of the Were Rabbit and
I
Vengeance
feel
Most
like
Foul
this
are
is more of a
90-minute movies.
I feel like this is more this is a road that leads us to the road of James Bond.
Oh, because it's well, I thought that, but wait, have you watched Vengeance Most Foul?
No.
Because that is a genuine sequel to the Wrong Trousers, a direct sequel to the Wrong Trousers. I'm not even joking. With the return of Feathers McGraw in Cape Fear style.
Yes, of course, the return of Feathers McGraw. Yes.
You honestly, you have Netflix. You have got to watch Vengeance Most Foul. There's references to so many movies that you love, and
Okay.
that we both reference all the time. Cape Fear, Die Hard.
Excellent.
You're gonna love it,
All right.
but with penguins.
All the better.
It's literally Cape Fear with penguins.
All right. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Well, we did this last year, and it is the start of a new year, sort of. And
Yeah.
here we are. We want to take a look at all the sequels we looked at in the past year and pick the top 5.
Yeah, it's a good way to wrap up a year in podcasting, and an equally good way to pretend that 2025 isn't happening.
Agreed.
Because we're recording this in mid-January, and
We're days away.
we're days away from the event. But To be honest,
that event
from New Year till now, it's been no picnic either. One of the world's major cultural centers is on fire.
Yeah.
We've lost some of the best directors, actors, sports people,
yes,
and musicians in recorded history. And we're not even out of January yet.
David Lynch and Bob Uecker on top of each other.
Yeah.
Was hard to take.
And Sam from Sam and Dave. Around about, kind of happened pretty much on top of that too.
Oh, man.
Dame Joan Plowright, who was the kind of female Laurence Olivier in British acting.
Do you hate her too?
No. Laurence Olivier on film I hate. I'm willing to believe how not, you know, without the assistance of a time machine, that he was the great stage actor
that they say he was.
But he was incompetent on film. There's no two ways about it.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch a couple of his movies, I guess.
The worst one is probably The Prince and the Showgirl, which he did with Marilyn Monroe, and it's the contrast between how perfect she is for screen acting versus how wrong he is for the same medium that really, really strikes you.
Mm.
That and the 49th Parallel. He's the only person to give a bad performance in a Powell and Pressburger movie in their entire canon.
What about Marathon Man?
I mean, that's fine. It's hammy enough that he gets away with that. Also Sleuth as well, I think. It's stagey enough and there's enough scenery chewing going on to kind of carry him forward, but he's just not. It's just he wasn't cut from the same cloth as a great screen actor is.
All right. Well, it's a new year. Maybe we can find somebody new for you to hate.
But yeah, so this is a good kind of breakwater between what's come and what's coming.
Yeah.
And I think we've decided what we're doing next, but we'll keep you in suspense, as the great radio drama used to say.
If you're really paying attention, you should probably know.
Yes. If you've looked if you've looked on Max recently and seen what's still there, there's a big clue for you as to where we might go next.
All right. Well, how should we start? We should start by what have we watched?
Yes.
Do you know?
I mean, I can get the feed up now. I
have the feed up. We started with 2009.
Okay, well, why are you asking me then?
Well, you seemed like a prepared person that might have had a list written already.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared to talk about how I feel about the films. I'm not.
I thought I could just bring up the feed and that'll be easy. And then I brought up the feed and I thought this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it was. But
I would say there are one or two runaway top 5 contenders, and then the rest is a little harder to manage.
I agree. That was my initial thoughts as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about what we've done.
One of my questions for you, I thought this was pretty funny because last year, like this year, we gave the listeners a gift from our Patreon.
We did.
We are in the midst of giving them a couple of gifts from the Patreon, from the Candyman
Not
series.
that we're trying to avoid doing work or anything, but yes.
No, never. And last year we gave them a gift of the Karate Kids.
Yes.
And what I thought was interesting was that in 2023 we released Karate Kid from '84, but January 1st we released Karate Kid from 2010.
Yeah.
And you're not going to count that as a one of the movies you could choose, correct? Not that you would anyway, but I just thought it was an interesting ethical question.
Oh, as an ethical, because we got into the weeds last year. I remember on how many movies per series can you include in the top 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, if the ethical question for this year is do we include gifts from our Patreon, I would say in theory yes, but it's not a possibility we need to entertain when it comes to Karate 2010.
I thought to myself, we'd really have something interesting if we released them in a different order.
You just asked me a rhetorical question, essentially. Because it's never anything I'm going to have to decide.
That's
and
true.
give an answer to. Yeah, but that's a good point. Yeah, I would happily include gifts from our from our Patreon if we put them on the regular feed.
All right. Well, at the start
I'm
of the year,
I'm gonna reverse myself on that.
Yeah.
Immediately.
You wouldn't do it?
I found the hole in my argument, which is
because it's not a sequel.
Yeah, because we're trying to build up a canon of the greatest sequels of all time, aren't we? Ultimately,
mm-hmm.
And that's not going to happen if we include any old any old reboot garbage in there, is it?
I saw a
and
poster.
I have a horrible feeling if we open that door, it's gonna end up with it's gonna be like The Godfather Part 2 and then the reboot of RoboCop for some on a technicality is gonna be the greatest sequel of all time in our list or something monstrous like that happening. It won on a technicality.
Yeah, that Michael Keaton, I tell you, he really brought it in that RoboCop reboot.
Yeah. Well, we started with the Karate Kid 2010, which is the last time we need to mention that.
Ever.
Although...
he's coming back.
There's a new Karate Kid movie coming out that appears to unite the two different fictional universes of Karate Kid.
That's true.
And I don't know whether to be excited or appalled.
Retroactively, 2010 is now a sequel.
Oh, you're right. Well, maybe we can include it if we were going to include it, which
we're not.
I don't know whether to be excited or appalled because, I'm hoping that the reboot franchise dies the death I always assumed it had.
Mm-hmm.
But I want the world of Cobra Kai to continue.
Yeah.
So I'm in a bind.
I hear you.
So we'll see. It's coming out in summer, I think.
Okay.
You can cover it on this show, I guess.
Yep, we sure will. It'll be an Omen thing. Like we have to go back.
We have to watch the first Omen. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So we last year we started the year with the 2009 sequels, which included Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Whoa. No wonder 2024 ended so badly if that's how we started it. That's a terrible... Speaking of omens, that's a terrible one.
And then we went to the Pink Panther 2, Crank 2 High Voltage, and Into the Blue 2, The Reef.
Yeah, unexpected...
But don't forget we finished with Che Part 2.
Yes.
I'm so interested to know...
It's a front runner for sure.
Well, you'd think it would have to be because of the quality of the film made.
Yes.
But I think I mentioned this when we did the movie. It's, also a movie that I would be the least interested in going back and watching.
Yeah.
Multiple times. So I have to consider where that puts it within the standing.
We begrudgingly elevated it.
Yeah,
I think when we first discussed it, we were reluctant to give it as much play as we did.
Right.
Because it didn't seem fair that such a good movie was sandwiched
with all those other 2009 movies,
in this
which,
trash,
by the way,
in
is
this
only
trash
half
pile.
the movies we need to do. We're got to go back to 2009
gotta-
as well.
Including Cell or The Cell 2. I can't remember what we ultimately decided on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that started very poorly. And then we got into, then it started to get better with
Jurassic
Into the
Park.
Blue 2.
Oh,
no,
sorry.
well,
I was
in
going
the
to
2009
the next
list.
series. Yes.
It gradually, with the biggest surprise of the year, I would say.
Yeah.
Not that we're giving out like participation trophies or whatever, but if we did have biggest surprise of the year, it would be Into the Blue 2: The Reef, which is probably one of the most watchable movies we've done all year.
Absolutely. and
Which
also
took me by surprise.
It took me by surprise, but also it was part of the litany of evidence you had to call me a direct-to-video sequel apologist.
Yeah, and coming from me, that is not an insult. I wish,
Right.
because I'm definitely coming around to your way of thinking about, this is where our expectations should be pitched.
Right.
Let's see if the film meets that. Let's not compare this to the cinematic,
masterpieces that have
right
come before it.
And I remember, and I also, looking back at when I looked through the feed and looked at the show notes for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the first thing it says in there is that any enthusiasm I had for the movie was immediately quashed when you pointed out to me that the first half hour is a dream sequence. So... Our coverage of that movie was really over before it began.
Oh, it's good. All right. Well, then we moved into the world of Jurassic Park. Just Jurassic Park. No Jurassic World. And so we only had a couple of movies there. You got The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3.
Jurassic Park 3, the movie, where Velociraptor talks. Yes.
We went to the world of Oceans. And got
we did.
the Ocean's 11 sequels, 12, 13, and 8. That seems out of order.
We were tricked by a friend of the show, Matt Aldridge, into doing the Oceans movies.
So, according to you, I'm perfectly fine with the Oceans series. Thank you.
Because he wanted us to have an argument, and boy did he get it. And he got his wish.
We had a one-off, again, from 1984 with Cannonball Run 2, with our fantastic guest, Tom Taylor.
Absolutely, yeah, that was an outstanding episode. So we're creeping through the single sequels of 1984 at a snail's pace.
Yeah,
with that.
And then we go to the Pink Panther series.
Yes, which again, only the front half of those movies.
Correct.
But definitely a lot of fine filmmaking in that part of the canon that we would probably need to consider in the top 5.
But not Inspector Clouseau, my guess.
Probably not, no. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing bottom 5s, but...
Yeah, right.
I think Rob Zombie and Alan Arkin are hanging out in the depths of hell there. With Steve Martin. Actually, Steve Martin and Alan Arkin's Inspector Clouseau are in their own little can have their own little dinner party as well.
With wines falling off the shelves.
And Alan Arkin as Steve Martin doing slapstick better than Alan Arkin.
Yeah. And then, of course, because we can never resist, we went back to the Star Wars universe and we watched the Star Wars sequels.
Yes. And
I don't imagine any of them will make your list.
well, yes, I feel they will underperform in my list as they did in the world.
Oh, I think they made money.
They made money,
That's
but
all
they
they care about.
underperformed as movies, as stories, and as art. They were somewhat lacking.
Very good then. Then we,
Like I said, the best of them is working at 50% capacity.
okay, hang on. Then we go to Friday the 13th, the back half of the series.
Which we know is not good.
But
we were drawn to in ways that I still don't understand, at least from my own perspective.
yeah. I am not ruling out one of those movies making my list.
Don't be surprised if one or more of those appear in my list, I tell you.
And then we go to Candyman.
Yeah, we decided not to give horror a break, as most podcasts would do. We decided to fuck variety and continue on.
Unbelievable. We haven't recorded in like 9 years, and then the same drilling that happened the last time is happening again.
Are you sure it's not going on in your head?
It might be.
Whenever you talk to me, I mean, it's perfectly possible that it's just the sound of you listening. It's just your brain processing my voice.
Ring, 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 ring.
Ring, ring. I mean, it's been said before that's what my voice sounds like in people's heads.
So, dear listeners, if you're listening to this and hear ring, 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 it's either Tom's voice in my head or drilling.
You're either going mad or you're not. That's as much as we can pin it down.
All right, go ahead. You were saying about Candyman.
Yeah, we decided to fuck variety and continue because there are more horror sequels we want to watch than there are.
Yeah, we can't watch them just in October. we gotta do more than just one a year.
And we will be giving you a break from horror, but probably not for long because I'm already thinking about lots of series I want to watch. Many of them are horror based.
Yeah.
So, but as we said, I think as we said in those episodes as well, the Candyman series is a very different kind of slasher.
Mm-hmm.
So it was worth, pursuing independently, and then the gift from our Patreon has been a couple of Candymen.
One an actual direct sequel that we
right, and we said we should have covered it on the regular feed anyway.
So yeah.
So you're getting that. You're getting.
So you get what you should have gotten all along.
Yeah. So if you were wondering why Candyman 2021 wasn't part of the series, you're correct. You're vindicated. You're not going crazy. It is a direct sequel. We just didn't realize that when we covered it, but we've made up for our mistake by adding it into the regular feed.
It's a real 1990 situation, single sequel situation.
Yeah. We're constantly learning there are more sequels in the world than we thought.
Yes.
And and I already thought that there's a lot of sequels in the world. So It's again like the first Omen. No idea that was an Omen movie.
I love that the first Omen. I had no idea that was an Omen movie. What with Omen in the title and the first suggesting that it happened before the first Omen.
But then
the first Omen.
All right, you make a compelling argument. But is every movie with Amityville or Exorcist part of the Exorcist or Amityville canon? No.
Oh, I don't know.
They're just generic horror words that filmmakers throw around to try and get people to come to movies.
You know what we should do? 1 year of just Amityville.
We'd need 2, minimally. We're releasing once a week. We need to go back to whatever we did at the start, where we released an episode a day, or whatever the fuck it was. Ridiculous rate of episodes we set for ourselves.
All right, wait,
Yeah.
we're not done, because
We're not.
squeaking in at the end of the year, the single Star Wars story, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Prequel, sequel.
And maybe the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We'll see.
Interesting.
Or maybe not.
I'm supposed to be the apologist for that movie.
Well, I listening back to the episode, I think I'm impressed with enough elements of it that it could. I mean, it's definitely got more of a chance than any of the Skywalker saga sequels
Mm-hmm.
to getting in, as far as I'm concerned,
Okay.
to the top 5. However, we did also cover part of a Friday the 13th series. So that creates a problem of ranking.
Oh, this is not easy.
Well, I mean, I don't. I didn't listen to how we tackled it last year. Do you remember? Did we go 5-1 or?
I would assume that makes the most sense.
Well, then we probably did the opposite. But let's do that now. Then let's do an inversion of whatever we did wrong last time.
There you go.
Or go from 5 to 1. Are you able to give your 5th?
No, you go first.
Or are you going to take the 5th? You're taking the 5th. Yeah, I think I know what my 5th is.
Yeah.
And it may surprise you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, before we launch into the point of the episode, let's talk around it a little more. What do you think? Like, what are you thinking? What's your kind of struggle? Where are you finding it difficult to create that 5?
I think the top is a little bit easier this year.
I agree. I've got my top. I have my top.
I've had my
before
top since I
anything
looked
else.
at the list, glanced at it a month ago, and said, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
2? I don't know. There are movies that I feel like should be at 2 or 3 that I might not put at 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 and 5 are sort of the jackpot. Like, I feel like there's a lot of sequels just waiting in the corner for their name to be said out loud.
They're in the playoff positions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Waiting for that one chance to.
I'd almost rather have
promotion.
like I'd like to have a play-in round, like college basketball. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but
but I know the equivalent that we have the equivalent in the football leagues in England.
Okay.
You have the play you have automatic promotion to the league above places, and then you've got the playoff places, and if you get into the playoffs, you have a kind of tournament to be that second to get that third spot or whatever. I mean, it's different for everyone, but it's usually the third spot.
And then again, I mean, you already mentioned it, but when you take a movie that is maybe not good, but should be worse than it is, like an Into the Blue 2, The Reef.
Yeah, well,
it's like, do you want to reward it?
Yeah.
Just
bearing in mind,
just for being a surprise.
We're eventually going to pit all these top 5s against each other. So you've also got to think about how's it going to hold up against the Godfather 2s of this world. Right?
Well, that's like a 1 seed versus a 16 seed. and Godfather 2 wipes the floor with Into the Blue 2, The Reef. Beats it by 173 points.
Yeah. But, and it does it do that in its own right, though? I guess that, that's going to be interesting. Like, as any direct-to-video movie is going to make it into our, Cup Winners' Cup of sequels.
Right. Now, last year, I know we said we could
League.
You could take more than one movie from a series.
Yes.
And so that's...
I've really run with that this year.
So that puts me in a bind, actually.
Well, you could mentally, in order to sort of finalize your rankings, you could mentally apply that criteria and see if one pops out from the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, I mean, that actually kind of sets in motion a top 4 for me. And then really the only place I'm looking is who gets that 5th spot. Do I want to bother you? Do I?
Please. I mean, you do. The answer to that is yes. And historically, that has also been yes. So don't factor that into your decisions. What are you talking about?
Because that's the spot. That's the spot that's a troubling spot. Now that
I'm fully prepared for Force Awakens to be there in your list somewhere. I'm mentally prepared for the moment of it happening. Okay? I've visualized it. I know where I am. I know how I'm going to react. I know what I'm going to do for myself afterwards to make myself feel better.
You know what's odd is I have thought of that movie. I have thought of 2 other series. One would shock the hell out of you.
What could that be?
Oh, man. What's your 5th movie?
Well, it might not be the last movie from this series to appear on my list, but I'm dead set at this point on my 5th spot as Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, wow.
I know, and it feels like maybe I should have waited until next year to do that. But I kind of already know because this was a movie that we had to cover from a particular angle.
Right.
We were only covering it as a Friday the 13th movie, which meant only Jason forward parts of the movie would kind of enter into our commentary. But it's a robust enough movie on both ends that I couldn't see not putting it in the top 5.
Interesting.
Even though I think we both agreed that the consensus was that it's not a great Friday the 13th movie by any means.
Right.
But when I think about the directorial work that Ronnie Yu does and how fun some of the screenplay is, and certain set pieces, I think, as an overall move, it also makes my job easier next year because it's one less to think about, because we are covering this again when we do the Nightmare series, or in the next 2 years.
2 years from now, yeah.
That is some optimism that will be free to record a podcast.
Okay, so
in 2 years' time.
But
anyway, I was like, I can't not consider it, and after having considered it, I think it deserves a place in the top 5.
All right. So you're hitting upon something that I find interesting, because when I first looked at that series, Freddy vs. Jason occurred to me.
Yeah.
But for some reason I kept going back to Jason X.
Okay.
A movie of far less quality.
Oh, and I've never agreed with that. I've heard you pull this line before. I've never agreed with that.
I think on its face, it's not as, it just doesn't look as slick. It has clearly less money behind it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I
Well, no,
think
it had a lot of money behind it. But as we found out, it had a lot of money behind it. It just spent so long, in production that it ate up that budget on things other than quality.
So I guess here's where I'm at. For my 5th spot, I am considering those 2 Friday movies, Freddy vs. Jason and Jason X.
Got it.
I have eliminated, you will be happy to hear, The Force Awakens from contention for some reason.
The reason is the overall quality of the Friday the 13th franchise. And its ability to confound expectations.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
in any context.
Here's where I thought I would bother you.
Oh.
Because I'm considering Ocean's 13.
Okay. That doesn't bother me.
Okay. Well, you just don't like fun of any kind, and so I thought you'd object on that.
I don't like fun. What comforted me about that movie is that there's some part of Al Pacino left that knows how to give a straight down the middle performance.
Yeah.
Albeit, as we said, in the wrong vehicle for that. He could have been as over the top as he wanted to be,
right?
But he actually wasn't. And for some reason, that made me that I found that movie oddly comforting.
Now, here's where I think I'm going to surprise you.
Ooh.
Because I'm looking at another series. I can't even remember how I ranked these. I'm looking at Jurassic Parks.
Now, that was a blindside, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because my affection for The Lost World annoys you.
And why am I looking at The Lost World and considering it above Jurassic Park 3?
Because Steven Spielberg's only getting worse.
Will you calm down, please? God damn it. But
hey, he was the first. I have a complicated relationship with Steven Spielberg, but he was literally the first person to come out and say what a great filmmaker David Lynch was. So,
all right, there you have it.
That speaks very well of him.
I find myself more nostalgic for a not very good movie, like The Lost World, simply because it has Spielbergian flares.
I'm pretty sure you said it was a bad movie.
I did.
Yeah. Hey, well, this is your chance to set the record straight.
You know what? I think that made my choice for me. I'm eliminating the Jurassic Parks. Now.
Well, you don't have to stick to your original guns.
I think I'm in the 5th spot. I'm going Ocean's 13. Yeah,
that's definitely a solid middle of the road choice that sometimes the end of the list ends up being, because there's so much trying to get into that one spot that you eliminate some of the wilder elements.
Yeah,
some of the more maverick,
right,
uneven. Yeah, because if you put Lost World in there, what you'd essentially be saying is you can sort of make 20 minutes of a good movie and
have it count as a whole movie.
And have it, yeah. Whereas, Ocean's 13, there's nothing, it chugs along, but there's no massively standout moments or sections of the movie that I remember personally.
Of course not.
But it chugs along fine.
All right. Yeah, I'm going Ocean's 13.
Yeah.
Now, I tell you what. I don't even like that I have to make these choices. Like, I kind of wanted to. It's so unfair to the movie. I wanted to just chuck J Part 2 out of contention completely.
I think if it means anything to you, and to be honest, as soon as I start to agree with you, you immediately change your mind. So this don't jump until you've thought this through. But I think you'd be entirely justified doing that within the remit of the podcast.
I feel
because it's not the kind of sequel that we created this podcast to cover.
True. Oh, that makes it harder.
And I'm being devil's advocate here because
I feel like I can't do that though because it's such a well-made film.
Right. That's my struggle. I don't want it feels like a safe choice.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside looking in, but when you actually think about the movie, it's not a safe movie at all.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of artistic risks.
Yeah.
In and of itself, but it is a far more worthy movie than we normally deal with on the podcast.
So, I think because it has those qualities, I am therefore going to go with, in my fourth spot, The Return of the Pink Panther.
Oh, wow. Well, that came out of left field.
Yeah.
The Return of the Pink Panther.
Mm-hmm. That's the fridge attack, right?
It certainly is. But didn't I like that more than you?
I don't think so.
I thought you liked Strikes Again more than I did.
I liked it more than you did, but not more than Return of the Pink Panther.
That suggests to me there might be more Panthers in your list. If that's where you're putting it for.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Or maybe given the Shay Part 2 discussion, maybe my next choice is an obvious one as well, but I am giving credit for serious filmmaking with gravitas in sequel form here, which shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of our criteria, but it should be part of our criteria. And number 4 on my list is Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh.
Oh, excellent. I didn't even mention that series, and that was the other series I was looking at, was the Candyman 2 for, that 5th spot.
And I found this to be a dreadful horror movie, but a fascinating sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you like, I'm ignoring the genre shortcomings in favor of the format successes.
I forgot about that movie. Can we have a top 6?
I know. Well, we've got to talk about how we do the rest of our rankings, because we release twice as many episodes in a couple of years than we do now. So I don't know. We could maybe do a top 10 for those.
Yeah.
But if it's for 52 weeks, 52 episodes a year, I think it should be a top 5. Then it's really competitive.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm rethinking.
None of these are set in stone until they are.
Yeah, I could chuck out Ocean's 13 for Candyman too. Easily. Oh, that's tough.
It's kind of also, we haven't discussed the the rules of combat for any future competitions, but if it's in one of our lists, doesn't it give it a chance?
Later on, you mean?
Yeah, because we have to merge our lists at some point.
Mm.
I don't know how we're gonna do that. I guess we'll have to have blackball. We'll have to have vetoes or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
We're gonna have to synthesize a top 5 out of our respective top 5s. I hadn't even thought about that as a possibility. So, if a movie's in one of our lists, we can always go back to that. at some point.
Oh, this is really hard.
So if you want the movie to be there as a discussion point, that might be more important than it reflecting exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is why games, as a rule, are unfair.
All right, I'll come back to that.
Okay. Yeah, you can reserve the right to
I'll
change this list at any point in this episode. But once this episode's over,
it's set in
that's
stone.
it. It's in the books.
I'm gonna mull it over.
Okay, well,
because in my third spot, I was going to put Che Part 2.
okay. I mean, O'Shea.
Yeah. I would love to just chuck that movie out and release it from contention, but it's a movie we covered in the past year, and it's very good.
It's very good, and also the title is Part 2. It has Part 2 in it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
Yeah, there's no
the
kind of getting
continuing
away from
adventures
it.
of.
Yes, it
It's
is
not the
continuing
adventures of Che Guevara.
But it is.
It's
That's not the title.
Well, it is in the,
but that's
but it's a biopic. So
Yeah.
any sequel, any biopic with a sequel is going to be the second half of his life,
right.
which is exactly what it is. So I don't think you can blame the film for
Yeah.
existing.
I'd love to chuck it out. I just think it's too well made to do that. It doesn't deserve that.
Well, I may or may not agree. However, as a point of contrast, my third spot is occupied by an underrated movie called Jason X.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the belligerent side of me, but I refuse to admit that this movie isn't as good and enjoyable as it first seemed to me and continues to seem to me. And I keep hearing otherwise from the outside world, and they've done nothing to convince me. But I don't know whether that's, just me being stubborn and people mentioning things that this movie should be that I don't want it to be, like it should have looked like The Dark Knight. I'm like, absolutely
No,
not.
God, no.
No. This movie should be full of color.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a Technicolor dystopia before.
Right.
And I want to see more. So, and I've talked before about how this scene, this is like almost a self-parody of what people think like late in the day sequels in horror franchises are.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually sit down and watch it, it makes total sense to go in this direction. And it's enjoyable, and it works with the rest of the series. Like, it riffs off the rest of the series really well. So, I want to give it as high praise as possible. So it's... But third on the list is about as high as I can go without seeming like I've had a lobotomy. Probably. We took January off because Tom had a bit of his brain removed.
The doctors called it necessary.
Yeah. Because but you know what? It's not even like the issue of like taste and quality that's holding me back. It's the fact that the first half of the Friday the 13th is much stronger.
It's so good.
That's
right.
doing it. Like Jason X might be higher if there weren't so many good sequels in the series.
Yeah.
Which is just a ludicrous, like, I don't know, self-regarding way of looking at it. But comparing it to the rest of the Friday the 13th movies, but I don't know. I just don't have the issues with it that everyone else seems to have. So it's going to be very high. It's just very high on my list for that reason.
Okay.
Bite me.
No.
Bite me, culture.
I am falling in love with
That's
your
what we're going to call the
list.
podcast from now. Bite me, culture.
I'm falling in love with your list.
Oh, really?
Such
Well, I
a
have a lot of respect for your list too. Your list and mine would be close friends. That's for
not
sure.
the same.
I just think of it as an older brother. No, well, give. So, I'm actually not clear on what your your list currently is. Remind me. So we've got.
Well, I had
Return-
Ocean's 13.
Ocean's 13, Return of the Pink Panther.
Yeah, and Che Part 2.
Oh, that's great. That's a great list.
But
I've fallen in love with your list.
these two movies, so I thought for sure I knew what I was doing with my top two. I know what I'm doing with one without question.
Okay.
It's the best sequel we saw this entire year.
I think our number ones are the same.
Probably. And I thought I knew what I wanted to do with two. And like Che Part 2, I almost want to chuck it out
Oh.
just for a more interesting choice.
They're all interesting choices in their own way.
Because Jason X and Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh, I'll feel regretful if they're not. I mean, they're represented on your list.
Right.
So they're there.
So when we discuss this, my list subsumes all of yours, all of your choices. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But and also, yeah, you might want to give play to movies that I've clearly forgotten about, just so we can talk about them.
No, I mean, I would think you'd know what my top two were fairly easily.
Well, let's look. Can I guess?
Sure.
Or is that going to take away?
Well, because it's in flux. I might be chucking out Ocean's 13 still.
I think
that's such a safe, middle-of-the-road sequel. I don't think I can reward that like I'd like to reward Jason X or Farewell to the Flesh.
Which one? What are we talking about?
I think I'm chucking out Ocean's 13.
Oh my god!
In the 5th spot.
I just want everyone to know I had no hand in this. I said nope. I did not try and convince you to do this. This is a conversation Mike is having with himself about Ocean's 13. I'm not pushing either way. I'm not even doing it like in a Machiavellian way without looking like I'm doing it. I'm not doing anything.
He's putting up signs that say, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Wrong choice. Think again.
Yeah, I'm not visually doing anything that is making Mike come to these conclusions.
I think I want to put Jason X in the 5th spot.
Okay.
And now I have a real test of character.
A test which I have already failed. I'm putting Jason X in 3rd.
No, you're fine. I love that choice.
Well, it's a test of my love for the Jason Voorhees character. That's really all of a test of character it is. That guy gets me. I mean, in any form. In space, in under a lake, anywhere.
Yeah.
That guy draws me in a way no other character in horror does.
Well, we were talking beforehand that you kind of had your list ready and that I took cursory glances at the year and had ideas, but that I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And now I see how that is taken me on a real roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I think I probably did this mental work beforehand, but nonetheless, some of these are a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's pros and cons to all of them, I think.
Yeah.
Apart from my top one, which
My top
I think
one was my top one from moment
in any
one.
given year
Yeah.
would be, if not in first, would be in the top 5, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But the rest, I think, are all up for debate.
So okay, wait. What's your second? I've been going first for a while here.
I don't need to say any more about it because we've talked more about this than any other film on either of our lists. It's Shape Part 2.
Okay.
I put it in the second spot. And again, I just couldn't find a compelling, cohesive argument not to.
Yeah, yeah.
But the reason it's not number one is that I think there's a better all-round sequel that deserves higher. And I think, well, to put aside any mystery about what it might be, I think we both think should be in the canon of all-time great sequels anyway.
Yeah. Should we say it at the same time? Or should I talk about my number 2 spot?
Oh, let's talk about your number 2 spot.
I thought for sure my number 2 spot was just simply going to be Rogue One.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about Rogue One.
Because
No, I have too many problems. I have too many problems with it to put in the top 5. Too many problems, sorry.
I know you do. I don't have those problems that you have.
That's why.
They don't bother me like they bother you. But I recognize that the things that Rogue One does, it does well. But it's not... I feel like I talked about a lot of risk-taking with that movie that grain against other Star Wars movies, like Cold Open.
For sure. Well,
No wipe transitions, things like that.
Interesting characters.
Yes, there's characters that I find enjoyable and want to know more about. But
Story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
But as a whole entity within that series, I think I'm enamored with the original trilogy, and I'm connecting it too much to the original trilogy in a way that it might not deserve. And so I think I'm going to eliminate it for a movie that really surprised me. And I'll thank you for bringing it up and reminding me, because that movie was Candyman 2: Farewell to the Flesh.
Oh, wow. That jumped all the way to second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you definitely liked that movie more than me, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So that reflects the reality of our discussion. Yeah.
That movie got so interesting towards the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Those arguments with Mom and the whitewashing and it really had something very interesting to say.
It did.
Out there in the slave quarters.
Interested and complicated as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's not many slashes where you leave not really knowing who is the antagonist and who is the protagonist.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And whether it's even okay to think of the clear antagonist of the movie as a villain at all. Mm-hmm. Whether you can even morally justify it. So, all credit to Candyman 2: Farewell to the Flesh. It's it's really thought-provoking stuff, and that's why it's 4th on my list.
And it just doesn't... It's a 90s movie. It doesn't look as slick as a Rogue One. It doesn't have a standout section of film like Rogue One's ending.
Correct.
But it makes me think more than Rogue One ever will.
It's kind of aside from not being a very good horror film, it does all the business well, the sequel business.
Yeah.
Does
Right.
all of that very well.
It even has Purcell, which we later found out was a legacy character.
Which and then thankfully the now all of our listeners
Yeah.
now know was actually a legacy character. So I love that this is essentially like, when a politician gets caught with their hands in the till
Yeah.
and they have to release all the documents pertaining to that to the public. That's essentially what we've done with Candyman.
Yeah.
Right. We said
Yes, right.
we were wrong about this, and we were
All
wrong
right,
about this,
we admit it.
and these 2 episodes are the proof of that. Rather than sweeping them under the carpet.
Go ahead and listen to them. Fine.
This is transparent. This is transparent government, I tell you.
Yeah. From here on out, we're gonna be more vigilant.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
A mea culpa from our Patreon.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel much better about this now.
Okay, good.
I'm where I want to be. Jason X. Oh, so glad Jason X is on my list.
Okay.
Jason X, I can still remember my first seeing of it in a movie theater, having not seen
Me too. Well, not in a movie theater, but yeah.
9, 8, or 7.
Right. Yeah.
And then coming
Same.
back to the Friday the 13th series and just having a blast.
Yeah.
And then feeling that
Literally.
way watching it again. Yeah.
Literal blast into
So
space.
I'm glad that's in the 5th spot.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought from the beginning. Oh, I almost let the cat out of the bag. From the beginning. So Return or Strikes? Which one? Which one's that one?
well, which depends which one you're talking. You're talking about the one you put on your list. I think is Okay, Return is Fridge Attack.
Okay, yeah, Return. Return is in the 4th
Strike
spot.
is the Pink Panther Bond movie.
I maybe I'm rewarding it too much just for that Fridge Attack, but
There are worse reasons.
but
to
it's
put a
it's
movie in
worth
the top
it to
5
me.
list.
It's worth it to me. But I couldn't.
It's that good a joke.
Yeah, like the Fridge Attack, I almost put it in the 3rd spot and dropped Che Part 2 to 4 just for the Fridge Attack. And I thought, okay, that's ridiculous. Let's reward Che Part 2 for the entire sum of its whole movie and its great filmmaking. So, 3rd spot.
But Quack has frost on his eyebrows, for God's sake.
Yes, it's so good.
So he's been in there a while as well. It's the joke that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's magic.
It's like Johnson and Johnson in Die Hard.
Yeah. Big Johnson, Little Johnson.
Yeah. Except the Fridge Attack all happens in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled to not cling to the loves of my youth and stick with a Star Wars and chuck it out of contention and put in Farewell to the Flesh.
I think with both
I
of those...
feel like I'm growing, Tom.
With both of those, nostalgia kind of clouds the issue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because, Force Awakens is, in some people's eyes, a scene-for-scene remake of the original recipe Star Wars, and Rogue One is latching onto that.
Yeah.
That fictional universe.
At a first glance, like a month ago or however long ago when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, Force Awakens, probably 5th spot. So I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad
exactly
that
what I thought you were going to do too.
I'm glad that was chucked out as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's because it's fair to say when we retrospectively go back and do our top 5s or top 10s from past years, there may be one or more actual Star Wars movies in there. So I don't think we need to worry too much about eliminating some of the weaker ones.
True.
At this point.
Well, that leaves our top spot, which I firmly believe is the same movie.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say it's a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a shot in the dark at all because I knew
Yeah.
I knew it would be.
Yeah.
And we, it's
Top to bottom,
goes without
it is
saying.
by far, like, it's leagues above, for me, most of the movies we've seen this year. That's how good it is.
Well,
which is to say nothing against the other movies. That's just how good that movie is.
agreed. Yeah, and it kind of it took us by surprise a little bit, not as much as Into the Blue 2.
Yeah,
might do,
right.
Because I always knew it was a high quality movie, but I forgot that it effectively kind of launched the series.
Well, that's the thing that's odd about that movie is that it feels like it's the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like it launches the series, but it's not the first Clouseau movie.
It's not the first Clouseau movie, and the other, what's even more remarkable is that it was retrofitted from a totally different property.
Right.
It would have just been Peter Sellers playing a detective, and Blake Edwards just said to him, "Well, would you do it if?" Offered it to him, said, "Would you do it if it was Clouseau?"
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly he got interested in the idea. So it's even more remarkable that it's such a cohesive movie.
Yeah.
Given its production conditions. And and again, like looking back at my list from last year, like, Friday the 13th Part 2 is a similar kind of, feels like a movie that should feel stitched together, but actually
Mm-hmm.
gives you a template for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So, that's why both of those are in my top 5 for those years.
I didn't look at my top 5 from last year.
I can tell you if you want.
Yeah, go.
Well, do you want to guess, or is it putting too much pressure on your memory?
Way too much pressure on my memory. If I look through the feed, if I go back through the feed, maybe.
Yeah.
Ooh, House Parties. None of them.
Well, let's see. We can take those out of contention. Yes.
All right, we got Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th.
That might play. Yeah, both of those may play a plot in your top 5.
Yeah. I would be willing to bet 6 and 4 from Friday the 13th are there.
Absolutely, yes. 4 comes in at number 4.
Temple of Doom as well.
And 6 comes in at 2.
That's without me seeing the rest of the year, though.
Temple of Doom is your number 1.
Look at me.
So all you haven't guessed are your 3 and your 5. This also saves the listener having to go back to the previous episode as well.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think I put an Omen in there, did I?
No, neither of us did.
Okay.
Although I think I let slip that I would have done. Had I, it could have been one. It could have been my 5.
Did I do 3 Men and a Little Lady?
You did indeed. That is your number 5. Yes.
Yeah. And then what do I need? 3?
3. Yeah.
No House Parties.
You don't even need to go to that bit of the feed.
Oh, I don't know. Did I do a prequel? Tell me I didn't do a prequel.
No, you didn't do it. No, just think laterally about the discussion we had about putting more than one film from a series in.
Did I put Last Crusade?
You did, yeah. It was Last Crusade.
All right.
That's exactly what it is.
All right.
So that's a fine list. You want to hear mine?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to guess mine?
Let's see. It's easier if I go tops.
I love that we've been shitting on nostalgia and we're asking each other to guess what we did this time last year. Which, in many ways, is the lowest form of nostalgia there is.
Did you put 4 at the top?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Coming in at number 1. Lightning in a Bottle.
Temple of Doom, too?
Yes.
Part 2?
I've already told you 1. Yeah, part 2 is next. Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you... Well, actually, depending on what else we've got... Oh, wait. You're a clone. You're a Clones guy. Is Clones 4 or 5?
It's not there at all.
Oh.
I remember saying on the podcast that Damien Omen 2 and or Attack of the Clones could have been my 5. But they were neither of them were.
Not a Bad News Bears.
No.
RoboCop?
No.
Damn it.
No, even the Kirshner sequel is not top 5 material.
Okay. Wait, so no prequels made it?
No prequels made it, no.
That seems odd.
Well, when I rank the prequels high in the list of Star Wars movies, that's a smaller sample than the whole of sequel cinema.
You weren't like a Two Jakes guy, were you?
No, but you're in the right area.
Rescuers?
Yes, Rescuers were my number 5.
Okay.
So you only have to guess my number 4.
House Party 4, down to the last minute.
Of course, yeah. Love that echoey sound in the bathroom. Mm-mm. Natural sound all the way, baby.
Oh, man. What was it?
It's one of yours. It's Jason Lives.
Okay. I thought you left 6 out. I really did.
No, it's like this is interesting because we did the same with our list this year. It's like it's all our esteem is all relative to each other, and we leave thinking, "Oh, you didn't like that," and I'm like, "No, I just put it 4th in my top 5. It's not.
I just didn't have it at 2.
It's Jason. Yeah, it's interesting. Like,
although I think I had
Lives,
6 at the top of my list, didn't I?
I think I would.
Of the
you had
Fridays?
6. Yeah, it was the top of your list.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think Jason Lives is one of those movies that people go around in circles in their opinion about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there are those who are like, on principle, are like, it can't be the best.
Right.
It's the 6. And then you watch it and you go,
Pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's interchangeable with 2 or 4. 2 or 4 win by a hair over it, in my opinion. If I went back, it could change on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not 4.
Oh, this was good.
Yeah.
I've had a good time.
Yeah. So, so we now have 2023 and 2024 in the books. The question is, do you want to go back to 22, 21, and 20 now, or in a later episode?
No, let's do a later episode. In fact, maybe we'll put that behind the paywall. Make these people pay for it.
That is a very good idea. And once we've got those, make people pay for it.
What a rat bastard I am.
Yeah. So once we do, so there are three more stages. One is retroactively doing all the years we've been podcasting since 2020, between 2020 and 2023. There's merging our lists.
Yes.
So that it's 5 for, or however many for each year.
I like the idea of that. I like the idea of us trying to convince each other that one of the ones on our list belongs on the Uber list.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
And then I guess well,
like
I
if we can't make a decision, we bring in, I don't know, like Aldrich as a tiebreaker or something.
Oh God. Well, that's essentially the same as throwing out one of mine.
All right, we can pick somebody else. Yeah, You're right that he lacks our sensibilities.
Well, no, he quite rightly says that you're overthinking this. These are bad movies for a reason. This is why these are famously bad movies. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, great. Well, there's at least there's 1 to 2 more episodes in there. I guess we want to. I mean, any Champion of Champions we do will have to be updated each year. Yeah. I guess we can get, if we do that, we can get to a point where we would just have to factor in whatever movies we covered that year, and say, will any of them knock off?
Yeah, right.
Our current top 5, or would just be a knockout. At some point we can just do a knockout.
Yeah.
Is anything going to topple one of these?
Or I think for that we could have a top 10.
Yeah, we should come up with a top 10 for sure. Yeah.
And then every few years, or at the end of every year, you see if somebody knocks out one of the top 10, and then eventually we have to go top 5 and then the top of all time. Currently. Well, this is the interesting thing about, top 10 lists became top 5 lists, and now because of Letterboxd, it's top 4.
Mm. So, presumably we're going to enter a phase of culture where you'll have to just rank your top 3 and then your top 2, and then you'll have to pick one.
I like the idea of that, though, because nothing infuriates me more than when I ask someone what their favorite movie is, and they say, "Oh, come on, I can't just pick one. Pick a genre," or "You mean my favorite comedy?" I'm like, "No, I don't mean your favorite comedy. I mean, what's your fucking favorite movie of all time? Pick one." Do you cheat on your spouse? Can you not choose?
What are you talking about?
Why can't you commit to just one
movie? Did I just
movie?
fall asleep in the middle of that conversation?
If I just equate someone who can't pick a single movie to someone who's always on the lookout for another person.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, your eye is always wandering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see if we know each other's favorite films. Jaws.
Yeah.
What's mine?
Well, you said Ace in the Hole.
Yeah, Ace in the Hole, yeah. Well, that said, nothing... It's not like a sight and sound list. That doesn't change because culture does. For me,
Yeah,
I mean? Right. It's like Orson Welles gets replaced by Chantal Akerman in the sight and sound list. There's no way Billy Wilder's getting replaced by fucking... I don't know. What was the name of the woman who directed Candyman?
I won't remember that.
2021?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's sort of well, doesn't mean they're equal.
Yeah.
Just because
I'm not going to replace Billy Wilder with disgraced Brett Ratner.
Yeah. Zack Snyder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you should choose. I think you should be able to say your favorite. And it's going to do that with songs as well, or albums. David Bowie's Low. Best album of all time.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he's my favorite artist. Doesn't mean he wrote my favorite song. He did, and it's on that album. But my point still stands.
Yeah, best song? I don't know. I think if you...
Pac-Man Fever. The theme to the A-Team. The Evangelist Blade Runner soundtrack.
What a quality joke. Oh, I'm crying. That was so good. Theme to the A-Team. You're so right. Oh.
Listen. I speak. I speak from experience. The other day. One of my favorite things to do on YouTube is to watch the intro to the opening credits of the A-Team.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much perfect, not just in terms of the music and the visuals, but also the sound effects.
Uh-huh.
That's what it's not just it's putting all those things together, like the sound of the machine gun at the beginning,
which, by the way, I know for sure is an M60. Like I just
your favorite gun.
I hear the sound and I equate it to Rambo shooting up that ammo store with his M60. That's the sound.
Because you get the voiceover, you get the bullets, and then you get the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
And then they have that amazing sound effect of B.A. Baracus smashing in the saloon door.
Great.
And think about it, most title sequences don't have sound effects.
Right.
So that's why it's special. That's
Agreed.
why it's special in my heart.
Well, you know that I go to a bar trivia every other
do.
week. And there's always an audio round. And one was television theme songs. And I don't know if you'll remember it, but I put it into our writing of Space Force, which was the theme to Hardcastle and McCormick.
It's great. Great piece of music.
So good.
I have it on my YouTube playlist, yeah.
And it was a question. It was a question one week. Hardcastle.
Wow.
He's like, what song is this from? And he plays the Hardcastle and McCormick. And my entire team just went blank-faced, and I just did that lean in. Hardcastle and McCormick. And they're like, what?
And you're just like, this is the reason you have me on the team.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder.
And it turned out, like,
this is why I am valuable to you.
One of the rules of this particular trivia is if you get an answer right that everyone in the bar gets wrong, you get double points. And we got double points that night for Hardcastle and McCormick.
Is that such a forgotten show then?
I guess, but I remember thinking, what's the matter with you people? Come on, Brian Keith.
That's what you said as you were awarded double points. You harangued the rest of the bar.
Yeah.
That's great.
I was going to say Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah.
Okay, well, that's very respectable, yeah.
And if you
I prefer the Leonard Cohen version myself, but...
So I was going to say that if you have the chance, you probably hate him, but Malcolm Gladwell has a great podcast, Revision.
Why would I hate him?
Well, you hate everyone. You'd find a reason to hate him.
Is Malcolm Gladwell a historian?
He's an author, but he's got a podcast, Revisionist History, that's fantastic. And one of his episodes, it's timely now because it was talking about different kinds of genius.
Uh-huh.
And he talks about the song Hallelujah, and he talks about like that it took years for Leonard Cohen. He was always writing that song, Leonard Cohen, and always kind of revising it and working on it and over and over and over again. And I think he got friendly with Bob Dylan. And they were talking to each other, and Bob Dylan said, "Hey, how long did it take you to write that song?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm still writing that song. It took me 3 years to finish that song." He's like, "Why? How long did it take you to I don't remember which song it was, but he's like a
Probably
Rolling Stone,
probably
and he goes,
like a Rolling
it took
Stone,
me
yeah.
about 15 minutes. He's like, you fucking, and so that's the difference in their genius.
1 minute a verse.
Yeah. And then he was talking about, like, Leonard Cohen's version is fantastic. It's amazing.
It is.
But it took somebody else's genius, Jeff Buckley's genius, to redo that song, to cover it, for the world to know the genius of the song.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting episode. It was good. Anyway.
No, well...
Who would have thought I
it's-
could finish this episode with a music roundup?
Absolutely, but that sounds like a great podcast, and that's a great foci.
Yeah.
That idea of different kinds of genius, because that is exactly what that song represents.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, as long as Malcolm Gladwell's revisionist history podcast isn't like calls itself revisionist history, and then when you start playing the podcast, there's just no sound, like a mystery box podcast, that would irritate me. I would take against it then. Or if it was just an intro promising lots of things they were going to do in the podcast that never actually...
That never happened?
Never happened. I might hate it at them, but this sounds like a winner to me.
It's great.
I have reasons for why I hate things. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Star Trek The Next Conversation, with Matt Mara and Andy Secunda, and Matt Mara was talking about doing a YouTube channel called This Is Why Things Suck. Because he, like I, hate most of the things that toxic fandom hates, but for very different reasons that toxic fandom hate them.
Yeah.
Like, we don't hate the increase in diversity and emotion in these projects. They just suck independent of that.
Right.
Like Star Trek Discovery, for instance. It's like, this is why it sucks. It's not because
there's
you have an African
black
American
female
leading lady.
Yeah.
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 It's because she cries every 10 seconds for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
All right. Well, on that
happy note,
cheerful note,
happy Inauguration Day to everyone.
good luck.
It'll have already passed by... Oh, God. Can you imagine what state the country/world is going to be in by the time this episode is released?
I know.
LA is burning like an hour from our homes
Yeah.
right now. So I can't imagine how close the big bad wolf is going to be to our particular door by the time this episode gets released.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, the first summer I spent was in the Pacific Palisades with friend of the show, Matthew Aldrich, and fellow friends of the show, Kelly Todd. And I'm not sure, but I feel like that house that we all lived in together no longer exists.
Mm.
It's hard to believe.
It is. Yeah. Well, we talk a lot about The Omen on this show. I mean,
yeah.
It's certainly
I've been
an
able to-
apocalyptic precursor to a certain event that's happened that's days away from happening.
Yeah,
at
I've been
least
able to
at
keep my
time of
mind
recording.
off of it fairly well in the beginning of this new year. Been concerned with other things, and then I thought of it just yesterday, and a cold chill spread through from my heart throughout my body.
There was a period after Britain had voted for Brexit.
Yeah.
There was just like a period where we were still in Europe, but at some point we had to
Get
negotiate our way out to Europe. And, people, the public at large were saying, Brexit's not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm like, no, hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I keep having to remind myself with it's like, oh no, Biden is still the president. That's why things are competent. That's why things feel competent. That is going to change. That is literally going to be night and day on the 20th. In every aspect.
I was surprised to see that he announced that the swearing in will be, the inauguration rather, will be indoors because it's just going to be too cold. I didn't think he could.
It's the smartest decision he's ever made.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think he would. I thought he would think that feels too weak and he would never do that. But he said, Reagan did it. Just like Reagan, I'm moving it indoors. Too cold, like 84.
Hey, if I was an elderly convict, that's exactly what I would do. Why take the chance?
All right, everyone. Well, there's our news report, our review of music, and our top 5.
We talked around the episode enough.
So what we need to know is what you think of our top 5, or if you have a different top 5. You know what to do. You got to get on the computer. Go ahead. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Don't find us on X. Or do find us on X. We might be back there. I don't know. Tom,
we're on X. We're on X.
Tom
So you can
was
find
doing
us on X.
something funky. But
Balls in your court.
you certainly can start a thread. I'm doing it now. If not, go ahead and send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com.
There's another way to contact us now.
Oh?
I can announce that we are officially on Blueski.
Blueski?
Yeah, we have a Blueski account.
Look at us.
So, if you're hankering for the aesthetics of 2008 Twitter, and
Like
and,
Homer
and
Simpson.
some of those,
You have a hankering for a spankering?
go ahead and join Everything Sequel podcast on Blueski or Blue Sky, as I think it's probably. I've never heard it said out loud before, so. Blueski was my first guess, but I think it's Blue Sky. Yeah, we're on there and posting. Come and engage with us or whatever you do on Blueski. I think you flutter.
Do the things.
Well, it's a butterfly, so I think instead of a tweet, it's a fleet or a flutter. I'm making all this up. I'm just guessing.
Send a chrysalis. Send a larva. Send a...
Send a lava! A lava is like a draft version of what you're going to write.
All right. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Wilson Productions, Michael Shauntsier of How Dare You Awards, we will be back. If you've been paying attention, you know where we're going. We'll be there soon. Say goodbye to everybody, Tom.
Chicken and broccoli. Where's my fucking strawberry tart? Top 2 quotables of 2024. Both of them Jason Statham, both of them Grant 2 Eyeballs.
That's great. Please.
It won that competition.
Yes. Yes.
If no other.
You were so enamored with that movie, I thought for a second it would get your top 5. Not above 5, but at 5.
It would also have been a good, because it had so many political problems, it would have put me in good stead with the new president if I'd have endorsed that movie too.
Yeah.
Because he hates women and people of color.
People of color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a monster. Oh, maybe I'll edit that out so we stay in good
other
standing.
news, podcasters Mike Schatz and Tom Stewart.
You heard of this podcast? It's the worst podcast I've ever heard about. Everybody's saying, no, I haven't heard of that podcast. Why are you talking about it?
Imagine if we went viral because it somehow found its way into
his ear
Donald
hole.
J. Trump's algorithm, and we weren't saying nice things about him.
Oh,
Well,
right.
I'll give you an alternate edit then. I, for one, welcome our alien overlords.
Done and done. So long, everybody.
Sweet. Did you know that the Everything Sequel podcast has a sequel? It's our Patreon, and for a low monthly donation, you can get up to 2 exclusive, full-length, ad-free bonus episodes. $5 a month gets you an episode discussing all the original movies from the series we've covered on the podcast. And that's a lot of snakeheads. But $10 a month scores you the reboot to boot. Support Everything Sequel on Patreon and reap the benefits of amazing brand new content you quite literally can't get anywhere else. Got more money than sense? We also offer one-time payments that will get you in the driver's seat of the podcast. Maybe even the passenger seat. That metaphor doesn't work, but our show does. So join the Patreon and believe the hype. It's a sequel.